Posted December 2, 2017 09-3520. In what job can you directly and publicly lie to your boss and to those who pay your wage and still keep your position if you're a WA politician? It appears the ongoing scandal engulfing ex-Labour MP Barry Urban will understandably reinforce the public's already dim view of our political system and generally low opinion of politicians. It is now clear the Darling Range MP directly lied to his then boss, Premier Mark McGowan, about a number of aspects to do with his past, including that he was entitled to wear a medal for work investigating overseas war crimes. As Mr. Urban's apparent web of lies continues to unravel, it seems increasingly possible he lied to Mr. McGowan about much more when the Premier and his staffers quizzed the MP to clear up doubts about his claimed credentials. For weeks the Premier and his senior colleagues had afforded Mr. Urban a level of support and protection by repeatedly warning the media and opposition to be mindful of Mr. Urban's fragile mental health as the political crisis continued to unfold. But that support appeared to wane this week as the Urban scandal dragged on. The opposition turned its focus to Mr. McGowan's handling of the situation, and the whole saga continued to seriously damage the government. Mr. McGowan had raised expectations Mr. Urban would front Parliament to provide an explanation on doubts about his past. But as days passed and with no firm sign that Mr. Urban would actually front Parliament, Liberal leader Mike Nahan turned the blowtorch on Labour and Mr. McGowan. Mr. Urban was elected to the seat of Darling Range on behalf of the Labour Party. They selected him, they funded him, they promoted him. He's here on their behalf, Dr. Nahan said. Mr. McGowan is the leader of the Labour Party. It's Mr. McGowan's task to answer the questions about Mr. Urban's CV. Just hours later, Mr. Urban used his Facebook page to issue a statement announcing he had quit the Labour Party and would instead sit as an independent MP. The opposition pounced, accusing the government of cutting Mr. Urban loose as the scandal engulfed it. One senior government staffer this week admitted as much, telling the Absh is not one of ours, he lied to us too many times. But the government cannot escape all responsibility for the fact Mr. Urban continues to sit as an MP and receive a taxpayer-funded salary package of close to $200,000 plus perks. The fact remains Labour pre-selected Mr. Urban, and a party process that allowed someone with so much doubt over his claimed credentials to be elected arguably warrants further scrutiny. Parliamentary explanation falls flat when Mr. Urban did finally front Parliament to provide his long-awaited explanation on Thursday. His 6-minute speech raised more doubts than it clarified. It failed to answer key questions about whether he had served as a war crimes investigator in Bosnia and why two British universities from which he claims to have qualifications have no record of him. More concerning is the fact that, in appearing at Parliament to supposedly clear up doubts about his past, Mr. Urban may have actually misled Parliament. In his speech he confessed to not having completed a local government diploma, but declared he had completed 9 of the 10 modules. Within hours of that speech the ABC revealed the WA Local Government Association disputed his claim. Wolga said Mr. Urban had enrolled in the diploma in 2013 but did not actually complete any of the 10 modules. That development has only compounded the vocal anger and frustration MPs on both sides of Parliament have with Mr. Urban, likely in part because his actions reflect poorly on all politicians. Dr. Nahan on Friday used the Wolga contradiction to call on Mr. Urban to do the right thing and quit politics. He can sit there as the member for Darling Range for the next 3 years and collect over $200,000 a year and do nothing and not help the people of Darling Range, Dr. Nahan said. It's actually undermining the whole standing of Parliament and politicians and decision-making within Parliament if a person can get elected on a fabricated CV. He's just not a suitable person for representing the people of Darling Range. While initially blocking the Liberals' attempt to set up a powerful Procedure and Privileges Committee investigation, the Premier on Thursday moved to establish one because he was not satisfied with Mr. Urban's parliamentary explanation. The 5-member committee is Labour-dominated, but the chairman, Lower House Speaker Peter Watson, insisted on Friday that political allegiances would have no impact on the outcome. We are there as members of Parliament to look after the reputation of the WA Parliament and also to look after the members too, Mr. Watson said. We want to make sure it's very thorough and I can assure you there will be no bias in this decision at all. That committee is expected to table its report in Parliament in mid-February. Many will hope any punishment it recommends will be not only enforced by the lower house but adequate enough to help restore the public's confidence in Parliament, politicians and the political system. Topics: Government and politics. State Parliament, Perth 6000, Wa, Jarrahdale 6124, Rollystone 6111, Serpentine 6125.